Final Fantasy VII Rebirth's ending is a bit of a whirlwind. A mix of what those of us who played the original were expecting and some new twists and turns that could redefine the story of Final Fantasy VII as we know it. Wrapping your head around it can be a bit tricky, which is why I hope you're here. The big question on everyone's lips, obviously, is does Aerith die like she does in the original? The conclusion of Disc 1 of the original 1997 release has proven to be one of gaming's most iconic moments, and remains still a spoiler for the ages nearly 30 years later. But much of the game's narrative astutely plays on both our knowledge and maybe even the character's awareness that her death is supposedly coming. Things aren't always as simple as you'd want them to be though, and Rebirth's desire to play with its own history causes the world to split into various fragments. So if you've just finished and want to make sense of what the hell just happened, or you just want to find out what happens to Aerith, you're in the right place. But if you haven't, or you don't, and somehow you've got this far in by mistake, huge spoilers for Final Fantasy VII Rebirth are coming, so be warned, we're about to spoil everything. So, does Aerith die? Sadly, yes, she does. Aerith does still die at the hands of Sephiroth in the Forgotten Capital, but also kind of no, because she simultaneously also survives in another timeline that is created as Cloud alters fate. Confused? Yeah, you're not the only one. It is a complicated and convoluted ending that creates multiple new timelines and realities where Aerith's fate is changed. When Cloud breaks through the Whispers and blocks that impending strike, Aerith is saved, but that is but one timeline, and we quickly see that Aerith is actually killed in what we'll for now be calling the main timeline shortly after. From what we can infer, Aerith is in fact dead in the main timeline where the rest of the party reside, but she remains quote-unquote alive in another that perhaps only Cloud can access. In the final scene of the game, Cloud and Aerith discuss her return and their reunion, so we can only hope that she is not actually gone forever. Understanding the ending to Final Fantasy VII Rebirth does require knowledge of a number of past games in the Final Fantasy VII Stratosphere. You can check out our remake and Crisis Core recap here if you need some more details before we move on, and Zack's involvement in the game from the very opening scene is crucial to deciphering the ending. So we're going to go over that in addition to all of the events that occur in Chapter 14. As we said, the game opens where Remake ended, but instead of escaping to calm, we see our cast of characters injured and potentially dead after the Sector 7 plate collapse. Then Zack rolls up, who was previously very much dead at the end of Crisis Core, and manages to save both Cloud and Aerith. And crucially, we also see Aerith's white materia as complete within this timeline. Zack then takes both Aerith and Cloud back to Elmira's house, where they remain unconscious, and Marlene is also there. Within this timeline, the sky is also fractured and the plants are withering away, which signals that the end of the world is very much near. We find out that Biggs, much like Zack, has also escaped death, and it's revealed later on in the game that both were saved by strange white whispers. These same whispers also appear to fight back against the standard grey versions when Tifa is within the heart of the weapon in Gongaga. It's never explicitly revealed what or who these whispers are, but you can infer them to be an extension of both the planet and Aerith herself. We understand the original Grey Whispers to be the arbiters of fate that have repeatedly stopped the timeline of this remake trilogy from going in any kind of different direction. These are most likely manifestations of Sephiroth, keeping everyone on the right track so that he can obtain the Black Materia, kill Aerith, the last remaining ancient, and call upon Meteor to destroy the world. Boo, hiss, what an evil person he is. White Materia then is the planet and the ancients fighting back against destiny to carve a new fate. Saving Zack and Biggs is a key part of that. Another critical moment within the game is in Costa del Sol when Aerith shows Red 13 a clear and empty ball of materia that we can only presume to formally hold the all-important white materia. She questions why it's empty, and this plays a huge part in the closing moments of Rebirth. Skipping forward to Chapter 13 and the Temple of the Ancients, we see Sephiroth capture the Black Materia as it rolls away from the party. He claims that this is the key, which grants access to the true counterpart hidden between worlds. Previously, when Barret and Cloud are fighting over the Black Materia, Aerith claims that there's no point fighting over a fake. So from this, we can assume that the real Black Materia is hiding in another world, and the one in this timeline is simply just a means to unlock other realities. Now, all of this is centered around the notion of reunion. The reunion of worlds, of people, of realities that allow Sephiroth to bring an end to the planet and start anew. Cloud and Aerith are then sent tumbling into the depths and wake up back in Elmira's house where we have seen Zack previously. Aerith tells Cloud to think of this as her dream, and they go on a date, taking them to a number of different places and eventually back to the church. Aerith gives Cloud her white materia and claims that this isn't about me, it's about saving the world and you. She creates a portal into the livestream and pushes Cloud into it, and as Cloud is falling, we see Sephiroth emerge through the doors behind Aerith. We can only presume that Aerith dies within this isolated timeline, but in giving the white materia, which casts holy and counteracts the black materia's meteor to Cloud, Aerith keeps the hope of saving the world alive and stops Sephiroth's attempt to gain full control over Destiny. It's then within the livestream that Sephiroth somewhat explains the nature of things. He says that in breaching the boundaries of fate, which occurred at the end of Remake, new realities are born. The planet houses a multitude of worlds outside of the one that we know, but not all are destined to endure. In essence, Sephiroth aims to use Meteor to unite the different worlds within the planet, but in doing this, they will all be completely destroyed. Cloud then ends up in the Sleeping Forest and meets up with Aerith again. If you're feeling dizzy from all this jumping around, just wait, it only gets more head-spinningly confusing from here. She states that Sephiroth has to be stopped by Etc. and takes the white materia from Cloud, giving him the clear white materia in return. He then becomes engulfed by the white whispers and wakes up once again in the Sleeping Forest, but this time we're back in the main timeline with the rest of the party. We then reach the Forgotten Capital where Aerith resides, and Cloud manages to break through the barrier of grey whispers and break into the planet's sanctuary. And that's where we see Aerith praying in the centre, Sephiroth's blade coming down onto her just like in the original game, and normal service, it seems, is resumed. Cloud, however, manages to break free from the Whisper's restraint and clash his sword against Sephiroth's. The sparks we see from this clash are the same rainbow light we see within the livestream, and in its prismatic nature we see one light, or reality, enter and several new worlds splinter off. Cloud manages to send the Masamune flying and save Aerith, but mere moments later we see a green flash and blood running across the ground, revealing that Aerith has actually died. Her white materia then goes flying into the water, and Aerith, in Cloud's arms, appears to be alive again, speaking to Cloud and touching his face. You then see a number of flashes and realities appear to switch, with Aerith both alive and dead across both. Sephiroth then claims that it begins the confluence of worlds, alluding towards the split nature of reality where loss is at the heart. He concludes that Cloud will never see the truth with such clouded eyes. But what is the truth, Sephiroth? You'll then fight the final boss, which evolves between Genova Lifeclinger, Sephiroth, and then Sephiroth Reborn. And across the course of the fight, you're reunited with both Zack and Aerith, before being separated as Zack is once again pulled into a separate reality by Sephiroth. The fight ends with Cloud and Aerith together as she fades seemingly back into the livestream, and Zack himself slips into the livestream too, just before Meteor hits the world. Returning to the planet's sanctuary, the party surrounds Aerith lying dead on the floor, but then Cloud, alone and engulfed by white whispers, tells Aerith to wake up, which, against all odds, she does. In subsequent scenes, only Cloud can see Aerith, although there is a moment in the final scene where Red 13 appears to feel her presence, indicating that she isn't just a projection of Cloud's own delusions. While it is very much unresolved and largely left up to interpretation at this point, what we can take from this is that in falling into the livestream as Sephiroth unlocked the convergence between worlds at the end of Chapter 13, both Aerith and Cloud exist simultaneously across all realities. Aerith is indeed killed by Sephiroth in the Forgotten Capital, and likely perishes to him in the church too. But she remains alive in one timeline, or at least in the livestream itself. Cloud is able to see and converge with Aerith as he too exists beyond the constraints of one world, and the same is true for both Zack and Sephiroth. Before the tiny Bronco takes off in the final scene, Cloud asks Aerith if she'll be okay getting back, and she replies that wherever she is like a second home, which seems to suggest that she is somewhere, and we'll hopefully see their reunion in the third part when that eventually rolls around. Final Fantasy VII Reunion it is then. As for the black and white materia, the final scene sees Cloud pull out the clear white materia that Aerith gave to him and put it back into his pocket as it turns into the black materia. This could very well be the true black materia that was hidden between worlds, as Sephiroth states in Chapter 13, since the white materia exists in this current timeline, albeit lost in the water of the Forgotten Capital, it maybe creates space for the true black materia to take form. And look, even after all of that explanation, a lot of it is left up in the air before we see how everything unfolds in the third and final chapter of the remake trilogy. But still, that's how we're interpreting the end of Rebirth and the fate of Aerith, at least for now. But what do you think about our theories and inferences? Are we barking up the wrong tree? Surely Aerith is getting the comeback to end all comebacks in part 3, right? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments, like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video, and while we've got you here with us, YouTube's algorithm has pulled this perfect video for you from our archives, so why not check that out as well.